Ready, set, art. Halloween. So I'm teaching this assignment a little early. It's normally in chapter 4, but we've just fallen behind on certain assignments, and I thought, well, you know what, I'm just going to take a break from the current assignment and go ahead and teach Halloween. So we'll eventually lead up to your haunted house, and you could design your haunted house. I'll show how to draw this one, but of course you could modify it for your liking. So the main ones I'm going to show today: pumpkin, bat, cat, a regular spiderweb, and your raven. Let's go ahead and get started. We'll start with an easy pumpkin, because I feel like there's a way to draw the pumpkin, and then there's the way I always see a pumpkin get drawn, right? So one of the ones I see is this, where it's just the circle, and then we just have like this, as if it's kind of like a basketball with a little line coming out of it. So I want to see more taking the time to do this type of shape, right? You do start with kind of like this weird ellipse, and I'm going to draw darker than I normally would for demonstration purposes. Normally I sketch much lighter than that. So we kind of get to that point. And then I'm going to go ahead and create the cutout area, just like that, so that I know where that is. And then that way it kind of helps me to figure out this section here, where the stem is. Okay, I know there's different ways to draw stems. If you're like, man, I want to draw a way cooler stem than that, that's fine. So here's my little leaf, and I kind of draw it funky because I think that helps with scary stuff. Okay, so then from there, I can go ahead and draw in my curved lines. And as I get toward the middle, then it means I have to curve the other way. And then that includes this back part, right? So I'm going to kind of shape these curves in the back, just like that. So that means I have to erase a little bit now. Remember, I was just using those as guidelines. And then I'll shape this part here. See how I'm adding those little curves, because it reminds us of how pumpkins are. Okay. So then we have to do the bottom. The bottom curves as well. So let's go ahead and reshape that. Alright, see, now that's starting to look like how a pumpkin would be compared to our little circle over there. Now we're ready for some detailing, and that's your eyes. So I understand that jack-o'-lanterns have all sorts of cool designs out there. I'm kind of going a little traditional. I feel like this is the basic one I do every year when I do jack-o'-lanterns, whereas and then I always do one that looks more like a cat. So I dash that in because I want to add fangs. I always do a pumpkin that's a vampire and then a cat one every year. I know as an art piece person it seems like I would probably do something fancier than that, but really I don't, because it's, you know, cutting pumpkins is actually kind of a challenge. Alright, so I have the basic shape in, but I want to make it look three-dimensional, so I'm going to add this angle here. And then when I put this in, I curve it to the same I did here, just like when we drew ellipses, same as here. When I put this in, I want it to kind of curve with it. Curve with it, right? And then I'm going to shade in here, right? Okay. Alright, so then on this side, I want to do it over here. No, you actually kind of have to go here. It's because of the angle that we're at. So then again, whatever curve is here, same curve. Whatever curve is here, same curve. See how that kind of makes sense because of the angle? So again, if we start at this corner, then for the nose, we start at that corner. Draw that angle and shadow. Fang, fang, bring that up, bring that up. And then here, because of the top, the angle that we're looking at, we can't see the top here. So we're just going to draw the bottom. And it gets to about here and stops. And then I'm going to shade. I'm shading so it's just easier to see it. Right? Alright, so I could keep going, but you would get the idea that you need to clean it up to the point that I see here. Okay? Are there different shaped pumpkins? Yes, but I need to see that curving is what I need. Alright, next is our bat. So I'm going to use an axis line. I'm going to match the axis line that's here because I want to draw my bat at an angle. So I'm holding my line here, and I compare to here, and I kind of draw this angle in. And then I match the angle I see here and compare to here. Alright, so now I have the angle of the body, and I can start drawing in everything else. So I'm going to go ahead with the torso first. You don't always have to. Just sometimes in animals' cases you need to. I'm putting this curve in for later for the legs. And then for the head is actually tilted. So I'm going to put this angle in. That way I know when I put the head in, I'm actually angling the head. The head for a bat is actually fairly big. So just kind of know that. Then the ears are a little on the big side, right? It's kind of what we associate with bats, right? They have big ears. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and erase this mouth part. Okay, and then I'm going to put in an access line here. Look how far down I had to go for the eyes. Don't put them too high. It will look weird. And then I know the nose kind of lines up here, and they have big noses. Big noses. Alright, so there's basically the face, and then you would erase all your little guidelines. Let's move in with the arms. They have these little arms that come out, and then a little hook, and then like this, and like this. It's almost like they're little fingers coming off of it. And then we thicken this part up again because they're almost like I said, fingers. Okay, there we go. And we're going to do the same to the other side. There's that little hook, right? It's like a finger. And then a curve. And if I want to make sure the length is correct, I do a C measurement, right? Okay. Kind of like Batman, right? You put these little lines in. Artists make mistakes all the time. That's why I'm erasing. Okay. And then I put in those little fingers that come off of it. Last part is I'm finishing up the little toes. Believe it or not, it's like feet like a mouse, right? But that should make sense because of the bat family. Kind of reminds me of mouse foot. In Vegas, we do get to see bats. It's kind of interesting, these teeny tiny little bats. Alright, so then you would keep going until you clean it up to the point that you see right here. Next is a scaredy cat. Alright, so a scaredy cat, your lines are a little different. So I'm going to draw in this curve first for the torso. So here I go, just like this. And that rear is actually up higher. So I'm going to make sure to keep that in mind. Right? And then I'm going to go ahead and shape this head. Right? Their ears are turned up. You could draw it as if they're mean, you know, where you turn them down. But in this case, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and put in some axis lines for the face, just like that. And then I know that I need to put in my eyes there, mean eyebrow, tiny little nose. And then, right, they go, they hiss at you. My favorite sound in the whole wide world is, right, when they do that. I always feel like in movies, what they do is, you know, they always throw something out the window and somehow magically it just happens to hit a cat, right? I don't know how it happens. And they go, right? Favorite sound. Okay, so I'm drawing in my crazy little tail. And look how jagged this fur is, right? Because the fur is up on end. Okay, and then the body. Okay, so most students have a really hard time with legs. See that? I put in these two curves. That's the hardest thing. And then we bring it down. And check out the length of these legs. They're pretty long, right? They're longer than you would think. I know most of the time we see cats sitting down and then we just assume they have short little legs. But if they were to do this, their legs get really long. Okay, so then here's the curve here for their shoulder blade. Don't forget that. Don't forget that. Okay, and then the other little arm. And I could keep going, but essentially you get it to the point where you clean it up. It looks like that. We are ready for the raven. I know I'm drawing super fast, but these videos can only last so long. Okay, so I'm going to draw my branch so I have something for the bird to stand on. My axis line is at this angle, so I'm going to do that. The head is at this angle, so So now I have something to kind of go from. Go ahead and put it in the body. Oh, that was my kid in the background. Okay, just like that. I'm putting in the wing. Ravens are actually my favorite bird. I think they, the black that they had, that beautiful ivory black, is interesting. I'm going to put a circle here for the head. I think what's interesting about ravens is their necks. Look how it kind of bubbles out. But I love how their beaks are. They're great for art. Art, it's really interesting. Even though like eagles are, and eagles are clearly like a prettier bird, but for art, ravens are just a little more interesting, in my opinion. There's a little more variety that you can use them for. I'm putting in the eye. I try to leave a white spot for it. See how fast I'm going? In college, you go very fast. You take these life drawing classes, and they give you minute maybe, and that's kind, to try to draw something. I'm drawing this part of the leg in, and then I look at the angle of the leg, put in my talons, right? They actually kind of don't have very big feet. It's not like the eagle where those are massive talons, right? That tail is probably going to go off the page. Now I can keep going, but you would lightly erase until you detail it. It comes out just like this. Okay, a spider web is very easy, but I just wanted to show something because this is what happens when I ask kids to do a spider web. Looks like this. Looks like a target. So really, when you put this in, and you can even make some areas thinner and bigger, right? It doesn't have to be equal. But when you start here, it's kind of like a tangle, and then it gets to here, right? And it starts doing this. So when you draw this out, I have to see that scallop motion. And then at some point we get to a point where we're going to bring the line down, and we have a little spider, right? So we draw the rear, right? So you can see that. We draw the rear, this part, the head, and then their legs. Make sure there's 8. Sometimes I get that, right, where the student drew it out and, I don't know, it's missing a leg, right? And then it starts going this way. If you love spiders, maybe you watched Charlotte's Web as a kid or read it. Bite. Okay. So, again, I can keep going. I go back and kind of clean it up to the point where you see here. Okay. That is the first part of the sketchbook.